What's up, everybody? I am your host, Shane Mallory, joined by my co-host,
Ricky DeCosta.
And you know what time it is? What time it is?
Run it back.
Run it back, baby. Episode 11. Before I get into all the meat and the grits of this show today, just want to remind you guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, we greatly appreciate all the feedback on the costumes last week. Oh my gosh, I couldn't go anywhere with people that I knew and not have somebody that I was running into talk about my Taylor Swift fit. And the video got a lot of likes, so it was hilarious.
Yeah, we really appreciate the love and the attention. So we really are grateful for the support and the energy. So keep it up.
Yeah, and listen, we have a little bit of a shorter show tonight. Okay, Buddy's got to leave for a big work project. I'm also, grinding it right now with the end of the try for my school. Okay. So a lot of different things happening, but we're going to try to hit them hot and heavy with some of the latest sports topics. Let's give it to them. So let's get into it right now. Okay, let's start with that game last night. First of all, people.
Wait, which game? The boys?
Well, no, we're not going to get to them boys yet.
No.
But rare occasion here. Picks haven't even been figured out yet. We're literally doing this right now. It's tied right now at 7-6. Tonight's game determines it. He's got the Jets. I got the Chargers. So, we all know.
Hey, New York, stand up. You know what to do.
Chargers, this is it, man. You got to go and win this game.
He's believing in the Chargers. Can you
listen?
You imagine
it'd be a great week for me because I won in both my fantasy leagues finally, the first time all year, and I win in picks. So it'd be a nice week, clean sweep. But I'm looking forward to a good game. But I want to talk about them Tigers are roaring, baby. I told you last week, don't be getting too close to the Tiger cage. You'll get bit. The Bengals look good right now.
Now, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Do the Bengals look good or do the Bills look bad?
Well, so listen, again, it's with the Bills. It's like there's talent on the team. They can get after the quarterback. Josh Allen has played well for most parts of the season, but the parts that he doesn't play well cost his team games. He had another game last night. That first touchdown run he had, great, beautiful fake, the little point at the defender. I'm with it. It's cool. I'm fine with it.
Sportsmanship right there.
Listen, it's one thing when the players are doing it in the game. I think the coaches have to be held to a slightly higher standard.
All right.
But it did cost his team 15 yards and gave the Bengals good starting field position. But just as quickly as that play happens, then he throws like kind of a head-scratching interception into double coverage, and you're just sitting there watching, and you just... Will the Bengals figure it out? I'm not sure. They're still behind in the division right now, obviously. The Dolphins are leading, even despite losing to the Chiefs, which we'll talk about that game later. But I'm just impressed with what I see out of the Bengals right now. Joe Burrow is cooking. What are your thoughts on the game?
Listen, the Bengals are healthy right now.
They are.
And I think a big part of it is that the belief, the togetherness that they had earlier in the season is all coming to fruition right now. The chemistry, the energy level. And so they believe in Joe Burrow, right? And now he's delivering. He's moving around in the pocket. He's scrambling.
Oh, yeah.
So
do you see him get up all jacked up after that one scramble? I liked that.
Exactly. Well,
he's feeling good.
Exactly, right? So he's really doing the thing. He's inspiring the team. And they are the team you don't want to play right now.
Yeah.
Whether it's...
Because they're not afraid to go on the road.
Listen, they've beaten the Chiefs. Right now they've beaten the Bills, right?
They beat the 49ers.
They play in the same division. They beat the 49ers. They play in the same division as the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Browns.
Best division in football. We said that preseason.
Hard football.
Yeah.
So there's no one they can't go up against and win, whether they're at home or on the road. So the Bengals are the most dangerous team in the NFL right now.
Well, and the interesting thing about the Bengals right now, too, though, is if they're going to win, they really got to try and get it done this year. Because, first of all, my boy T. Higgins, he was playing last night. He was just making plays.
110 yards, 8 receptions.
110 yards, 8 receptions. Man was on his game. And again, Jamar Chase had that really hard fall on his back. Yeah. He went out of the game for a little bit. They needed Higgins to go produce and keep drives going. And it's exactly what he did. The Bengals got to win with this team now because watching T. Higgins play, I don't know if he's a Bengal next year. I don't think that they can afford him for his price tag. And then also we have to pay Jamar Chase in a year.
Listen, at the end of the day, right, winners win. And you got to finish, and this is their time. This is their season, like you're bringing it up. Because you got to make hard decisions. Now, do you sacrifice defensive players to keep the offense together? Obviously, they have a lot of offensive talent. Chase is going to have a record-breaking contract, just like Joe Burrow.
Sure.
So ultimately, even if you franchise tag T. Higgins, that's a hefty bill to pay. And here's the thing. You can't just let him walk for anything. So ultimately, the Bengals are going to be in a tough spot like you mentioned last year. But you know what? That's tomorrow's problems. Today, the Bengals are one of the most dangerous teams, the most dangerous team in the NFL right now.
So listen, I agree with you. And again, looking at the Bengals, I mean, Burrow's last 2 weeks, easily his best 2 weeks. Okay, He finishes this game though, 348 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, quarterback rating of. His overall rating is a 108.9. His QBR 82.8. But I'm just watching the Bengals across the board, and I mentioned this to you last week. They got a stud quarterback. They have a running back who can just go out and be durable and make plays. Mm-hmm. They have weapons on the outside, arguably the best receiving core in the league right now. And the defense, okay? They have guys that can get after the quarterback. They have Logan Wilson, who's tremendous, and they lead the league in turnovers right now. So their defense is going to make those game-changing plays.
So ultimately, that's one of the... Listen, you got, besides the weapons, right?
Sure.
You got Joe Burrow, you got Chase, you got Higgins, you got Mixon. Separate from all of that, you got Henderson on the...
Hendricks,
on the defensive line. To your point, they're making... plays on defense and taking the ball away, and then Joe Burrow isn't giving the ball away. We've talked about in past episodes, it's important to win the game, but it's just as important not to lose the game.
Very high completion percentage,
right?
Too,
And when you look at the Bills, you can count on Josh Allen making those big mistakes, and Joe Burrow is not putting his defense and his team in a position to lose. Separate from him performing well. So that's why I think the Bengals are so dangerous, and that's also why I'm so worried about the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills are definitely they're struggling right now. There's no doubt about it. They're struggling to find an identity, and again, kind of stick with one thing. You see, when you watch the Bengals versus the Bill last night, you see the Bengals orchestrating and calling like a tempo and rhythmic type offense. Like everything is kind of blending together what they're doing. The Bills, it almost just seems like it's just throwing stuff on a wall and seeing what works. And at the end of the day, it always comes down to, all right, Josh Allen, just go out there and make a tremendous amount of plays for us.
Listen, I've said this before. What is Josh Allen without Stephon Diggs, right? And so this is not a referendum on Josh Allen because I think he's a great player.
Yeah, sure.
But ultimately, he's not. Where's Gabe Davis, right? Where's the Bills running game?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of
one game they have it, one game they don't. There's no consistency.
Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
And I think they're allocating a lot of money and resources on the defense, and they need more weapons, right? And so I'm worried about the
kid
Bills.
that they've been playing the last couple of weeks, though, Khalil Shakir.
Yep.
He's had a couple of decent games. They're starting to use Kincaid a little bit more, even though he had the fumble last night. So it's not like they don't have somebody. Their offensive line could improve too as well.
Yes, but so that's an interesting draft pick, right? So they pick up Kincaid, first round pick, tight end, and
they had Knox too.
They have Knox, right? So they were sort of already had that position addressed, and so that pick, I don't think is elevating them. I think they wanted to go with a 2 tight end set, really run the ball. Now that they're having a questionable record, they've lost a couple games. They've
like they have to come out and throw.
The run, right? And I think they don't have the patience to keep on going because Josh has that big arm. He runs with the ball. So ultimately, I just think the Bills don't have a true identity. And if you double Stephon Diggs and take him out of the game, then Josh Allen is doomed to make that big mistake.
Well, I mean, again, listen, it looks like it's going to take 10, maybe 11 wins to get into the playoffs right now in the AFC. The AFC is just loaded top to bottom. The Bills have 5 wins right now. They have 8 games to go. They still have a pretty tough remaining schedule too.
Well, listen, they got the Jets, they got the Patriots, they got the Dolphins,
Cowboys too as well.
They have the Cowboys, right? So between their division, right, and all the top teams they have to play, it's a brutal schedule.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you're starting to see some concerns.
Eagles, they're playing the NFC East. So, I mean, that cross-section of matchup, the fact that you have to go and play the Eagles still and the Cowboys, 8 games left, you're trying to get to 10-11. I mean, it's just tough. It's going to be tough for them. I don't think it's out of the reach of grass, but only time will really tell with the Bills, and it's just been... It's hard to trust them being this back and forth of what you see game in, game out. But... Another big game. Obviously, there are 3 very impactful games in the league. Well, 4, but 3 of them were close, and the other one was just a beatdown. We'll talk about the Ravens a little bit. But Eagles and Cowboys, I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. I don't want to shun any Cowboys fans away from the screen before I even start talking. So
listen, shout out to the Eagles. At the end of the day, they're winning ugly, but they're winning. And listen... first of all, Philadelphia is a beautiful city, right?
It is.
But they got a lot of heart. They got a lot
great
of grit,
cheesesteaks,
right? absolutely. Somebody's hungry.
I am.
But
Jim's Steaks, man, I'm telling you, best cheesesteak in Philly.
listen, I can't argue.
Don't
right?
do Pats and Geno's, I'm telling you. Not that I'm sure they're not still good. Jim's Steaks.
All right.
Continue.
But listen, they're winning. They're winning ugly. I'm a little concerned about Jalen Hurts. Every game he's looking
Got nicked
banged
up a little bit yesterday.
Again, listen, he's a warrior. He's got heart. But from a durability standpoint, is he going to make it? What condition will he be in at the beginning of the playoffs?
Sure.
Now, the good thing is they're 8-1. Right, they're on
heading
track.
into their bye.
They're heading into their bye. They might be able to sit him at the end of the season. If they have the best record in the NFC, they'll get a week off. So he might have the opportunity to heal up.
Sure.
And if the Super Bowl
Maybe get
has
2
to go
weeks
through,
off going into
exactly.
Sure.
And if the Super Bowl has to go through Philadelphia, right, that puts them in a great position.
Sure.
Now. Looking at now, first of all, they tried to give away the game to Dallas
Several
times. First of all, the Cowboys.
Sure.
We got to start with credit.
Dak played really well.
You got to give Dak
played
credit.
really well.
You know, listen.
I'm not going to say great. He played really well.
Cowboy fans, like I told you before, we keep it real. Dak Prescott played well. You did not lose that game because of Dak Prescott. He was using his legs. He found CeeDee Lamb. Jake Ferguson, right? Definitely emerged.
Yeah, he's starting to emerge.
In this game.
Young tight end.
So you have to give Dak Prescott a ton of credit. Now,
we're not in the moral victories business.
There's no moral victories, but somebody's got to take the blame, right? And I have a big problem on the coaching side.
I agree with you.
So
that's largely what cost them that game.
Let's break down that fourth quarter, right? So everybody's focused on Dak stepping out. Everyone's focused on, the tight end that caught the ball and went down early.
Inches
short.
Yeah.
Which, listen, that's football.
No,
it's a game of inches.
It is. Now, especially with 2 good teams.
So here's my problem. That play that he threw to the tight end, right? He's forgetting his name, like School Road or
Schoonmaker.
Thank you, Schoonmaker.
I think he's from Ohio State.
So here's my problem now. You decide to go for it on 4th down. 4th and 2, 4th and 3.
Okay.
There was about 10 and a half minutes left in the game. You're down 11. You're down 2 scores. If you kick the field goal, okay, now it's a 1-score game. Okay, and you got a shot. You go for it. You miss. It's still a 2-score game.
Yeah.
Right? So, but if you run the risk of which they did, they missed it. Now, you really have to hurry up.
Yeah.
Now, look at how the game breaks down if they kick the field goal. You kick the field goal, it's a 8-point game. What did Dallas do? Dallas defense stopped them. Came back, scored a touchdown. Same scenario played out. It's a 2-point game. Dak steps out. Right? They're down 2. Guess what? They get the ball back at the end of the game. But now, in the situation that happened, they needed a touchdown. If they kicked the field goal, they would have only needed to get in field goal range to win the game.
Yeah, I mean...
Right? So, my problems with analytics, my problems with McCarthy as a coach...
I don't like analytics.
Kick the field goal. Right?
Yeah.
Now, listen. Sorry, Cowboy fans, right? I could care less whether you win or lose, but that's bad coaching. That's bad football.
Sure.
Right? That early in the game, down 2 scores, listen, if you can kick a field goal and make it a 1-score game, I don't care what analytics say. You kick that field goal, the risk of not making it and still thinking you can win the game is the problem.
Okay.
Right? And so that's my issue on the coaching side. Obviously, their right tackle got whipped the entire game, but...
He did. You could see their offensive line really fade towards the latter part of that game, too. The Eagles got much more. Now, the Eagles struggled a little bit in that last drive just because it was so quick, bang, bang, back. The defense was right back on the field. And Sirianni's decision-making earlier on of using all their timeouts, now he couldn't he couldn't get a chance to just stop and, maybe just collect ourselves. All right, let's just get a quick break. That defense was reeling. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to pile on Dak because Dak did play really well. But if you're a Cowboys fan, the whole walking around with moral victories, we played really well, this and that. Okay, at the end of the day, you still lost. That's number 1. Number 2, I'd be somewhat alarmed if I'm a Cowboys fan because Dak played that well and you still couldn't find a way to win that game. And I think it comes down to one thing. They miss whether people want to admit this or not, and Jerry Jones is another, they miss Zeke Elliott. They need another back complement to Pollard. Pollard is not that guy. He cannot tote the rock and take the ball 20 times a game.
Let's dive into it.
Sure.
All season, the Cowboys have had red zone issues.
They have.
Right? And what's the difference between the Cowboys and the 49ers? At the trade deadline,
they made a move.
Right? The 49ers made a move, right? Their defense was a little questionable. Sure. Their secondary was questionable. Yep. So what? Bosa wasn't getting sacked. So what do? They bring in a playmaker. They brought in Chase Young, right, to bolster the offensive line because Randy Gregory wasn't enough.
Sure.
So now look at the Cowboys. We're good. Well, guess what? If you went and traded for Derrick Henry, if you went and got a power back, right, all of a sudden now, 5 yards or less, maybe you could have pounded it in a little bit more for a rushing touchdown. Maybe you'd have put yourself in a better position. Tony Pollard is not that guy to be able to be a 3-down back. If I'm not mistaken, last year he was averaging over 6.2 yards a game, and now he's
as the second back.
As the second guy. Now he's averaging around 3.7. He just can't tote the rock.
He's not the same player.
He's also not beating up the defense.
Sure.
You put Derrick Henry on that team, even if you had to trade a second-round pick for him. First of all, the Cowboys never even made the phone call. You never even made the phone call to go get Derrick Henry. You go get Derrick Henry, that would have solved your red zone problems, and guess what? You'd have won that game against the Eagles.
Yeah, well, some people have egos, and they don't just want to make, the necessary moves. Jerry made it very clear in one of his numerous interviews, because again, he's the only general manager that has to get interviewed about everything related to his team, but I digress, okay? Yeah, we're interested in moves, but I'm not going to make the call. I'm sorry, man. If you're trying to make the push for a Super Bowl, take your ego, throw it in the garbage, and make the necessary calls to go and improve your team. What that game showed me yesterday is Dak can be great, and it's still not going to be enough.
And that's a big problem, right? So, like as I mentioned, the Eagles are winning ugly, right? And the Cowboys, with your quarterback playing one of his best games on the road, and you still fall short. Now, where is Brandon Cooks? How come offensively in a scheme...
He was wide open for a touchdown late in that game that he's not seen.
Michael Gallup. Now, if you want to get deeper into it, right? You want to talk about Jerry Jones and general manager? They should have never got rid of Amari Cooper. Right? You decide to get rid of Amari Cooper and
signed all these guys the big contracts just to get rid of him.
But then you pay Michael Gallup. Where is he? He's not showing up. You go and trade for Brandon Cooks, and you can't incorporate him into offensive scheme. CeeDee Lamb showed up. Your rookie tight end in Ferguson showed up. Your quarterback showed up. Where's the number 2 guy?
Sure.
Right? Where's the X receiver to do his job?
Well, and here's what I'm going to say about Dak, too. While I do think he played really well, he was given an opportunity to go and win that game. And the one thing I'll say about him is you didn't make the crucial plays in the crucial moments to go and win that game. And the big play to me was either first and goal or second and goal on 6. The one thing you can't do, the one thing you cannot do in that situation is take a sack. And he backed straight up. And I watched the play numerous times. And this is where Dak frustrates me a little bit. You're athletic. You can use your legs. Why is it that when it's like the times that you need to, he wants to sit back there and just be a pocket
Here's
quarterback?
the problem with the Cowboys, right? Because they have not done it. They haven't won the big game. What's Dak's big defining moment as an NFL quarterback? Winning that, great a regular season game to help them win the division. Where's winning in the playoffs, right? Where is taking down the 49ers, taking down the Eagles? He has not had that moment, and therefore the team has not had that moment. So when it comes to critical moments, Dallas does not know how to win.
I know.
Right? They assume they play as if they're going to mess up. They're going to make a mistake, i.e., to your point, first and goal from the 6-yard line, false start.
Penalty right
Somehow
away.
you're on the 6-yard line and you end up on...
Now you give the Eagles time to breathe, too, and just, we've got a little bit of a deeper field to defend now.
Now it's first and goal, and now you're on the 27th-yard line, right? That's just unacceptable. The Cowboys just don't know how to win. Listen, I'm not ragging on them. And that's the difference. Winning ugly, right, and giving all of your effort and still losing and falling short. Short. Yeah. That's disappointing, right? And that's just that's just beating you up overall internally, self-destruction.
I hear you, man.
It's just.
And I don't want to pile on the Cowboys, but the Cowboys to me are where they always are. The Cowboys and the Dolphins to me are almost exactly the same in opposite conferences. They are good enough to go and beat up on the teams that are inferior, but they cannot go and win the big, crucial games. Those defining games where you're like, oh, this team might be able to win a Super Bowl. And I segue right into the Dolphins-Chiefs game, okay? Now, when you look at that game, watch it from beginning to end. And watching the first half, again, I'm just stuck with the same thing. When they run up against an elite defensive line, okay, an elite defense, the Miami offense struggled. We've seen it now in 3 different games, okay? Yeah. They struggle up front against good defenses, teams that can get after the quarterback and mess with their timing. They bracketed Tyreek all game. They got physical with him at the line of scrimmage. A couple of calls here and there they could have, but that's football. And Lord knows I could go on for days about the officials, okay? Just the officiating in general this year. I don't know what a roughing the passer is anymore. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what a PI call is either, but I mean, I digress. The Chiefs' defense right now is playing lights out. They are winning games for them. Top 3 in the league. Top 3 in scoring. Top 5 in sacks. I mean, they are just, I think, top 5 in passing yards too as well. They're legit. There's no jokes, ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Chiefs' defense is legit. The offense is probably the part right now where I'm most concerned. I don't know if that offense can go and beat the Bengals or the Ravens in a big-time playoff game.
You just brought up, listen, like I said, I love the Chiefs, right? And listen, I'm happy they won,
yes,
right? But in just trying to be neutral and looking at that game, even with Patrick Mahomes coming off of a loss, that Dolphins defense in the second half,
they played well,
held the Kansas City Chiefs to 46 total yards.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Total yards and a half. That's unbelievable. So that defense stepped up, but offensively they let him down.
Sure.
So as genius as a coach is McDaniels, right? He has some deficiency in those big games,
sure,
right? You know, they're a little bit more of a finesse team.
Yep.
He needs to figure out how to develop a power running game.
Sure.
And listen, right now,
as I've said, they're a year away. They need to improve the O-line.
Yeah, listen, here's the thing. The Super Bowl is not going through Miami.
No,
right? So you're going to have to figure out how to win in Arrowhead.
Baltimore,
right? You have to figure out how to win in Baltimore, or you have to figure out how to win in these other places. And right now, their finesse nature is not going to match up well in the playoffs because the recipe is you double Tyreek Hill and
get physical with him too.
You get physical with him. If you shut down the outside zone in the running game, then they don't have any inside game.
Which the Chiefs did a great job of too as well. They started running the ball a little bit better in the second half. My big concern with the Chiefs is I feel like they're struggling a little bit offensively with an identity crisis. When Kelsey is kind of shut down, they're still dropping Mahomes back and like having him go out to be Superman. I get it. Mahomes is awesome. I think he's the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
But that's not the team that you have right now. If Kelsey gets shut down, you have a lot of unknown and unproven guys at wide receiver that haven't shown, with the exception maybe of Rashee Rice, but it's still
stepping up.
In and out. He's stepping out. He's making some plays here and there. You've got a good center. You've got 2 good guards. You've got a sledgehammer-style running back in that backfield. Run the dang ball and maybe take a little bit of pressure off of your receivers in your passing game and then make it a little bit easier on Mahomes when he does drop back. I almost look at this Chiefs team, and it is eerily similar in terms of the way it's being built to the old school Patriots teams that won their first early on Super Bowls, where it was really on the backs of great defense. We're going to run the ball, okay? And Tom Brady's just not going to make mistakes, and he's going to make the plays we need to when we ask him to.
That is a great comparison.
That's how I look at the Chiefs.
Great comparison. But the problem is the Patriots didn't have a Joe Burrow. Right? Yes, you can bring up, Peyton Manning and great quarterbacks like that.
Oh, you're saying someone standing in front.
Exactly. Like, listen.
Manning wasn't at his ascent yet at that time.
The Bengals have an adequate defense with significantly better offensive weapons pound for pound.
Correct.
Right?
I agree.
The Bills, if you catch them on the right day, they have a puncher's chance. Listen, I'm going to bring up this team because they played them super tough last year. The Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, man.
Right.
The Jaguars are playing great right now.
On the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Well, the AFC is loaded.
Right. And so there's so many good teams. Now, listen, the positive thing, if it has to go through Arrowhead, right, the Chiefs have the advantage.
Sure.
So do I think they're going to end up in the, AFC Championship game? Yes. But you know what? Listen, they're going to have to beat some good teams like the Ravens, like the Bengals.
They get into their bye right now, though, too. Heading into a showdown Monday night Super Bowl rematch
against the Eagles.
Them and the Eagles. So that's going to be a great game, and it can probably tell us a lot about both conferences in terms of who's going to do what. But I'm not concerned about the Chiefs. Their defense is playing lights out. But you were talking about my team before, the Bengals, and how they look dangerous. I'm going to shout out some credit to you, my man. The Ravens look awesome. They look awesome. 2 weeks in a row, they dominated two good teams with good records. They dominated the Seahawks. They dominated the Lions. They are pretty much being able to do whatever they want. They've got a good running game. All of a sudden, this kid, was it Keaton Mitchell? Came out of nowhere, the young rookie. That kid looked great yesterday in a couple of carries. The Gus Bus was alive and well. Okay. Lamar is just... When all else fails, Lamar is just going to go. You still have to contain Lamar. He can still go and make a game-breaking play with his legs. They're getting Odell involved a lot more. And that defense, man, leading the league in sacks, second in points, top 10 against the run, I believe, and top 5 against the pass. They are a complete team, top 10 in scoring on offense, too. So they are, right now, they might be the most complete team in the NFL.
Now, here's the dangerous thing, right? They haven't really incorporated all their receivers at the same time yet, right? Odell.
They're still a team that's learning.
Touchdown, right? Bateman. Obviously, Zay Flowers looks, amazing. So I love the weapons, but they're still being integrated. So I'm excited for where Baltimore is headed, and I think what the Chiefs are trying to do is what the Ravens will achieve. Their receivers should be ready to play come playoff time because Odell has been there before.
Sure.
Right? Bateman and Zay Flowers will get experience, and they can lean on what's it called? Odell Beckham Jr. That defense is going to keep him in games. So, obviously, I'm loving what the Ravens are doing. And if they can just catch a little bit more offensive rhythm on the passing side, I'm going to be even more excited for this team.
Well, I mean, again, you got Mark Andrews, you got Zay Flowers, you got a veteran in Odell Beckham Jr., you've got Gus Edwards. You've got now this kid, Keaton Mitchell, who, I mean, look at these stats the other day. 9 carries, 138 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, no one had even heard of this guy until the other day. So it's just dual threat, in the backfield too as well. And when all else fails, you've got Lamar Jackson who could just go and make a play, either with his legs or just extending the play and going and making a pass. He's improved big time as a thrower. To me, I hate to admit this because you said this too as well. He's the MVP to me. If you're going to give it to any quarterback, it's an MVP. He's the MVP. He's the MVP.
Don't you need to add something to that statement?
What? Go be more?
You were right.
He hasn't won.
You were just missing.
He hasn't won the MVP.
The second half.
He hasn't won the MVP yet.
Right?
But yes, he looks great.
Ricky.
And the Ravens look. Ricky.
So
far, it looks like you could be right. There you go. You could be right. The last game though that I did want to get in before we go to a quick break.
Okay.
Dude. The Texans versus Bucks game. That was probably I didn't know what to expect out of that game. That might have been the best game.
Can I just say I've talked about this before on when it comes to football, some people just got game.
Oh, CJ
Stroud.
Boy can ball.
He can ball.
And I really like the little culture that's gelling in Texas right now. And D'Amico Ryans has that team playing hard each and every week.
You gotta give him credit.
Oh, absolutely. Their defense is.
You took CJ with the second pick.
Yep.
You took Will Anderson with the third pick.
And they still have a first-round pick this year because of the Watson trade. So it's like you could go plug and make a couple of those. Tank Dell looks awesome. Nico Collins. Noah Brown. Holy crap. Yeah. Wait for people on the waiver wire this week. People are going to be going crazy for a couple of people on the waiver wire this week. Me included, although I might have run out of most of my money.
I think so.
I shouldn't have said anything on the broadcast. I could just go and sneak these players.
No.
No, people would pay attention. But that game was fantastic.
Absolutely.
And CJ Stroud, listen, for all my hate against Ohio State, they are not my favorite college football team. And the curse of the Ohio State quarterback,
I know.
He could be coming to an end, man.
Listen.
That game yesterday was fantastic. And it's funny, I think last week I had said the Falcons were kind of like my surprise so far. And it was like the Texans had come off a couple of tough losses. Man, the Texans are just the biggest surprise than anybody. I don't think anybody saw this coming out of that team.
Listen, I want to see how they match up against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, they'll play again. They beat them earlier in the season.
Yes, they're with more experience now. Let's see what happens. that team is believing C.J. Stroud and believing in that coach and that system.
They got a lot of nice young weapons.
Exactly. Let's see if there's a little snowball effect and the Texans start to really take off.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm really excited. That game was phenomenal, just back and forth nonstop. Shout out to Cade Otton, too, the tight end on Tampa Bay. He went off in that game. 2 touchdowns. I think he went for over 100 yards as well. So he's a young guy. Look out for that name, too, as well. But I think the Bucs are somewhat kind of being brought back down to earth. You realize why Tom Brady decided.
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your
Baker is who he is.
He's like the standard. He's not a stud quarterback. Period.
He's not. He is just not a stud quarterback. But listen, guys, that wraps up the first segment of Run It Back. Don't go anywhere, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But we'll be right back after this quick break. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Run It Back. I'm Shane Mallory with my co-host Ricky DaCosta. And, before we get into the meat of this second segment, all right, today, and the final one, please like, comment, subscribe. Like I said, that video really helped us blow up big time in terms of views last week. I guess we're going to have to start coming up with some new costumes. I'm going to have to dress up like a turkey the week of Thanksgiving, I guess. We'll figure it out. I don't know. But, no, we appreciate it. Just please like, comment, and subscribe. Love interacting with you guys on the comments, too, as well. As you can see, I'm pretty active on there as well because if you haven't told by watching this show, we're on episode 11 now. Maybe I'm a little opinionated in that sports. I think it's just because I'm always right,
Whoa. Well, there's a wrong statement right there. Like, what are you talking about?
I don't know. These career records on the NFL picks would suggest otherwise. But go ahead.
Slow down. But one thing, right, our fans, our audience have been talking about basketball.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
NBA is
Hungry
back.
with basketball.
Right?
In-season tourney going on
In-season tournament. Listen, I gotta shout out my Warriors. They're looking good.
They do look good.
Right? The chemistry. Listen, last year...
They look good. They look tiny, but they look good.
Listen, the nonsense with Jordan Poole has been set aside. You got adults in the room at the table that care about winning. Chris Paul... Curry.
Yeah. No one will get punched in the face this year.
I can't promise that. I can't promise that. But guess what? They're all focused on the same thing. And again, you just got leaders. You got people that are focused on the same thing, right? Chris Paul needs a championship.
Scored 2 points the other night, and they're still winning a game.
That's okay. He's 7, 8, 9, 10 assists, right?
Sure,
Listen, he just needs to be ready for the playoffs.
Yes.
Right? But look at Kuminga, right? He's been developing and looking good. Draymond is back. So listen, I'm excited about the Warriors. They're winning on the road. Last year, they couldn't win a game on the road. They were losing to everyone. So it just, like on the road, all you have is each other. And you could tell that they like being around each other. They're professionals. And they just, do their job. And it looks like they fairly like each other at the same time. Even though there was a little bad blood, Chris and Steph, all that stuff has been set aside. Yeah,
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, they're all competitors. And now that they're on the same team, they're about winning. Quick little side note with Draymond, okay? As I've told you, I'm in an NBA chat, okay? And I always say, my street ball game, I'm literally Draymond when I go and play street ball now, okay? But I haven't always been...
So you just punch people in the face? Is that
what
you're trying to say?
No, we're going to say. Like, I rebound, I play defense, I hustle, all that. And, if you get out of line, you might have to be set straight real quick. But... I've never been the biggest Draymond fan just because some of his antics. I love his game. Some of his antics sometimes bother me. And there's no secret there's a compilation of Draymond kind of kicking people, where the sun don't shine in the air. Well, it seems that favor got returned the other day.
Talking about karma? Is that what you're trying to say?
He took a shot the other day. All I'm saying is the internet was on fire when that video went viral because everyone was just like, don't even feel bad for him. Not even for 1 second. And I'm sitting there and I'm
you
like,
gotta feel bad for any man.
I feel bad for any. But I couldn't help but sit there and go, dude, for all the times he's done it to other guys, it is kind of funny that the worst one ends up happening to him. That was a bad one too. But on a serious note, I agree with you. The Warriors have looked good, especially because you bring in a major new piece this early on, okay? And for them to gel the way they are, it's really nice. The fact that he's been selfless enough to go to the bench, too, as well, run that second unit. I think the more Kuminga plays, the better he's going to get, and the more you're going to be able to rely on him, and that's what's going to be needed during the playoffs. I like Moody, too, as well. I think they have some nice, two young rotational pieces. I'd like to see Wiggins get back where he was. He seems to be starting off this season a little bit slow. Only 2 things worry me with the Warriors. It's size and it's health. Like, if they run up against some of those just bigger teams in the playoffs, will they be able to deal with it? Some of them are just like you saw last year. The Lakers were just a bad matchup for the Warriors. The size that they could able to put out there on the front line. But with the right matchups and the right gelling and track record, their chemistry, I think the Warriors could be substantially better than I thought this year. Like, I think they could easily be a top 4, maybe even a top 3 seed in the West.
So listen, I'm interested in seeing how they match up against Denver. Right?
Me too.
So to me, that's going to be a big
problems
test.
both ways.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's problems both ways.
I think they'll be able to hold their own with Denver. But to your point, when it comes to the Lakers and that size and their big man game now, that might face a little problem for them. But listen, that's what's exciting about the NBA. Listen, Denver's killing it. Really excited about that. I want to shout out another team. Right?
I already know where you're going.
It's Dallas, the Mavericks. Right?
You know what? I'm so mad at myself that you bring them up too, because I had them picked for that division. I thought they improved, and then I went back and I read. I know it is what it is.
You
but
reneged.
No, they're good. I did renege.
Okay, all right.
You know what that tells you?
Couple times now.
I gotta tell myself the same thing I tell my students. Go with your gut. Go with your gut. They're always looking for answers from me on like a quiz or a test, and I'm like, is that what your gut's telling you? Then go with it.
Let me say this: if Luka keeps this up, he's the MVP.
He's playing
He's going to be the MVP. 32 points a game, over 10 assists, 10.7 rebounds. He's killing it right now.
They're playing some defense now. Grant Williams was a huge pickup, man.
Kyrie's only missed like one game, right? So he's showing up. He's doing his thing.
My gosh.
They're looking good.
Alert the papers.
They got a little chemistry as well. So listen, Dallas, they have the second best record, in the West right now.
Yep.
Pay attention to Dallas. They might surprise some people because with the moves that they've made, I think they're for real. It needs to continue, but I think Dallas is serious.
Best offensive team in the league right now. They have the best advanced metrics, statistics, everything on offense. The best offense in the league right now. So to your point, yeah, the Mavericks are showing you they're no joke. And while I never think they're going to be great defensively, they've got a couple of guys now there that are some stoppers that can make key defensive stops, in the late crunch time situations in games. Kyrie's actually, his scoring is down a little bit this year, a little bit to my surprise. But apparently he's actually doing a better job of facilitating more. And, there's no antics and there's no chemistry issues right now.
Yeah.
So it's good to see, what's going on with the Mavericks right now. Like to see it keep going. And there's nobody, again, if there's a guy who I would love to see in an NBA Finals, it's Luka Doncic, absolutely, because the guy is box office. He's big time. He's just a great player to watch. I mean, you just mentioned his stats too. I didn't realize he was averaging 32 points a game.
It's insane.
That's awesome.
Insane. MVP.
That's awesome. So you got to put him, especially when you compare him to like the likes of the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Lakers, just the talent they kind of somewhat have around, even the Clippers, as opposed to what he has.
If you look at last year, right, the Kings really took off, right, and surprised everyone.
Yep.
Pay attention to Dallas. So far, they might be that team
OKC
this year. Let's see, they're still a little young, right?
But I like me some SGA. But tell me about him.
You need a big-time player, and that's Luka on Dallas. And then he's got a wingman to go with it in Kyrie.
Sure.
Both are clutch. They listen.
Got a defensive stopper and leader
in
Grant Williams.
They're sneaky dangerous.
Yeah, I hear you.
Sneaky dangerous.
So you're talking about Dallas. I would quickly just say OKC is a team that I think is going to make the playoffs this year. They didn't make it last year. I love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he will be in the MVP discussion as well. Booker should probably be in it, but he probably won't just because now it almost seems like they disqualify guys when they have like 3 superstars on the team. But he's playing like an MVP.
Listen, you bring up the Suns, right? A little concerning,
they're struggling,
right? Obviously, they're
Early
missing
injuries.
Beal, right? So let's just hope he gets back healthy. I want to see the three of them develop. Again, I've been bringing up chemistry because it's so important, right? You got to play together. You got to. And first of all, how is he going to play? Is he just going to spot up in the corner, right? Is he going to be playing off the ball? Is he going to be, a playmaker and facilitator, right? Is Book going to end up running the point? So there's so many questions that I have about how that Suns team is really going to progress. Ultimately, I'm not super worried. They have 3 superstars, and so if they can go into the playoffs healthy. They're going to be dangerous.
They're tough just by their talent on their team.
Right, but listen, we brought up the Warriors. We brought up Dallas, right? I'd like to see the Suns get a top 4 seed. If they don't, it's going to be a long road, right?
Yeah, the West is going to be a bear.
Home field advantage matters.
Oh, yeah. Home court this year in the Western Conference. Again, at the end of the day, I think what separates the great teams is the ability to go and win on the road. NBA is just different in that regard. But you would like to have home court, obviously. It does seem to matter. I mean, it mattered last year. The Nuggets went all the way. And the Nuggets have that added advantage, too, of the altitude. When you go there, it's a difference. I've actually trained in Colorado before. it's hard to explain it. You have to just feel it. There's a huge difference in the output and capacity that you have. Listen, the Bucks are still kind of trying to figure some things out. I was talking with Shawnee Production during the break. The one thing that's frustrating me about them is you brought over Dame. The Dame and Giannis pick and roll should be it should be run constantly. I don't feel like they're running it enough. The defense is somewhat different. Now, part of this could also be Adrian Griffin. He's a new coach. The other guy had to walk away. Maybe time and gelling, but if you're not going to run pick and roll and the offense is not going to be run through Dame, I don't see it working long term. But again, it's very early in the season, so I think they will work things out.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, you brought up my concern, right? And that's defense, right? First of all, you don't have the offense right, and you don't play defense. Huge problem.
Sure.
And right there's like a
this whole move was so your offense could hit like this new ceiling.
But
you're giving up some defense. You know what this.
Here's the double-edged sword, right? You get Dame, right? But Holiday goes to the Celtics.
Oh my God.
5-0. They could score 130 points. They're leading the league in scoring, right? And so
they look unstoppable right now.
Very dangerous. And Porzingis, right?
Spacing the floor.
He's the third best player, and he could drop 30 at any moment. Listen, they're a serious team.
Derek White is balling right now too on both sides.
Now you're bringing up their depth,
and he can defend.
Right. Yeah. So my problem with Milwaukee is that I'm not excited about your offense. You don't have defense, and you got the Celtics there waiting, hungry, and looking unstoppable. Now, obviously, the 76ers,
they look good
really
right now too, man.
Right? Addition by subtraction, right? With the
Tyrese
76ers.
Maxey playing like an all-star.
But then look at coaching, right?
Not to go get him a bag.
Yeah. Listen, Nick Nurse
is
got that team really going, right? Versus Griffin that you brought up with the Bucks, right? Trying to figure it out as a first-time head coach.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see some of the differences with experience coming into play.
Sure.
So obviously, listen, it's plenty of time for them to figure it out, but concern is starting to grow with the Bucks.
Well, again, the Bucks definitely have to start figuring it out soon, just because the East is going to be very tough, at least at the top. I still think that Philly, again, I think Tyrese Maxey right now is playing like a guy who wants to go and get that superstar money, that bag. He's playing like, he's playing like that second star that Embiid needs. I thought the Kelly Oubre move was such a low-key, great signing. You need guys like that on your team. The guys that'll go defend multiple guys, hustle, do the dirty work, play defense. But Oubre can still go and drop you 20 a night, too, as well. All of a sudden, now you have a guy like Tobias Harris who settles a bit more into, I know they pay him like he should be the third best player, but now he can be a little bit more like the pressure is not so much on him. Defense, you don't have to go and go play a little bit more defense. Shooter. Give me.
He's an expensive 3-and-D guy. That's what he really is.
He is, and again, but that's fine. 3-and-D guys are great to have in this.
I mean, at his price tag, that's a little different.
It's a little different. I agree with you, but it makes if Tobias Harris is the fourth best player on your team, I mean, that's a pretty good starting lineup that you can have him putting out there sometimes.
Yeah.
I've been impressed with them. The NBA so far has been great. Before we even talk a little bit about this in-season tourney, dude, the unicorn out there in San Antonio, man, Wemby. This guy is like a spider. Listen, he's like getting to every part of the court and just blocking shots.
He's towering over Kevin Durant.
I know.
And that's not a small man.
I know.
Right? Listen, I think everybody's excited. Listen, clear-cut Rookie of the Year, even just for popularity purposes.
Yeah.
Right? I think he's going to win.
But you see the impact he's having on games already.
Exactly. And with a coach like Popovich, he looks rejuvenated. It looks like he can see the playoffs in his future. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Especially with the heavy
Doesn't play like a rookie.
They're young, right? And so, LeBron is getting a little bit older. Yeah. We're wondering who the face of the league is going to be. Listen, if he can turn it on, he dropped, 38 points against the Sun?
Yeah, and he had a ton of, I want to say he had 6 or 7 blocks in that game, too.
And listen, the kid is genuine, right?
Yeah.
So if all of a sudden he can start dropping 28 points a game and start surprising us, some game-winning shots, and they start winning, don't be surprised if he's like the international face of the league.
Well, listen, again, you bring up a great point, too, as well. And this is something I was talking to you guys on the break, too, as well. You're starting to see the league make that shift, okay? Not largely, but in terms of star players now. think about some of the best players in the league right now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from Canada. Giannis Antetokounmpo from Greece. Luka Doncic from, I think he's from the same place that Jokic is from. I think it's Serbia. Jokic, obviously, Serbia. Now you have Wemby from France, okay? The Spurs have been on this thing for a while, like finding the international players. But these guys who grow up as teenagers playing against men, understanding team and adult-type basketball, are thriving right now in the NBA. And like you're seeing that you can start building, you're building a team around Luka. You're building a team around Wemby. You're building a team around Jokic. The Thunder now are trying to do that with SGA and OKC. I think they're going to make the playoffs this year and take that next step. So you're just starting to see like these, first of all, if we just look at the Olympics the last couple of times that we've played.
Yeah, it's been super competitive.
Considering like compared to when you and I were kids and the Dream Team was just out there blowing everybody out. Now, part of that was they were extremely talented, but the foreign nations had not caught up and been at the same level that we were. They've caught up now, it seems. It's a much more, I'm not saying they're equal to us, but the talent. They have guys on a lot of different countries and teams that can go and play in the NBA.
It's exciting.
And they're really superstars.
And listen, you're bringing in other countries. You see what the NFL is doing.
Yep.
You know, playing in Germany, playing in London, and places like that. The NBA is bringing in international players, bringing in international audiences.
Sure.
So that's just healthy and exciting to see.
Yeah, and listen, the other thing the NBA is doing a great job is this in-season tourney. The ratings are up right now, okay? The games have been exciting. You see the teams are bringing a little bit more intensity.
Yeah.
So at first I wasn't sure what it was going to be about, but just to spice up the regular season and get more eyeballs to the TV screen. The courts look great, by the way.
Oh yeah,
all the colors,
super colorful.
It's great. It's
different.
Some great basketball. Yeah, they're trying to get the league exciting and make the regular season more relevant. So I'm all for that. But listen, before we get to our picks, obviously, because we had alluded to
going?
Stud of the week. Ooh. Stud of the week. Going back to the NFL here because we got to go rapid fire on the picks.
All right.
I'll go first.
Let me guess.
CJ Stroud. 470 yards, 5 touchdowns, and this is coming from a guy who can't stand the Ohio State Buckeyes. The man is for real. You can't deny that. I don't think anybody saw this coming. It was funny, of all the rookie quarterback talk, he was in the conversation. But it was largely Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson. Who do you think is going to... People are kind of like, CJ Stroud, we'll wait and see. I mean, CJ Stroud right now is blowing the competition out of the water.
Well, you know what it was? It was CJ, he didn't test well, right? In terms of academically on the football side, right? And so... But the amount of experience that he has in playing at Ohio State, playing the quarterback position, right?
Playing in big games,
right? And he looks like a guy that wants to earn it, wants to earn that respect, wants to be great. And obviously, players respect and love that, right? He doesn't feel entitled. He looks like he's coming into work every single day, right? And truly leading the team. So, right, it's hard to disagree with you, but I'm going to.
All right.
Right?
Where you
Joshua Dobbs, right? When you just get bust to a team, right? 12 hours before the game starts.
Doesn't even know his coach's names.
You don't know your coach's name. You don't know your player's name. Does he even have a place to live? Right? Didn't he even get a hotel room?
He's making plays all over
and
the field,
then you go and beat a top 5 defense on the road. That's a stud.
No, man, that's awesome.
My stud of the week. Listen, look.
Super happy for the guy.
You know what? He's been a journeyman. If I'm not mistaken, 4 or 5 teams in the last 18 months. Listen, that guy is doing something special. Listen, it might only be for 1 week. It might be for the rest of the season. But for this week, Dobbs, my stud of the week.
Hey, listen, man, I can't hate it. All right, obviously, I went with the popular one. The statistics were just, he literally set.
So someone had to work hard and dive in.
But listen.
Right. I did that. It's okay.
Yeah, you can do it every once in a while. It's all good. But listen, I get the utmost respect to Dobbs, and if he's showing you nothing else, he deserves to at least be given a chance as a starting quarterback. He's a serviceable and more than respectable
I'm pretty sure they announced that he's the starter for the next game.
Good for him, man. And you know what? Good for the Vikings. Because you would have thought losing Jefferson, losing Kirk, they're going to shut it down.
Hey.
They're 5-4 right now. They're challenging for the playoffs.
Hey, Jefferson might be coming off of the IR soon, right? I think he's been out for 4 weeks
And Addison, that boy is lighting it up, man.
So, what I mentioned this earlier, right? You got Jefferson. He's a stud. If you could tie in Addison has really emerged. Now you bring in Jefferson. They have a pathway to the playoffs if Dobbs continues to play well.
Yeah, I hear you, man. So listen, hats off to both guys, though. Fantastic weeks for both men.
Yeah.
But let's get into these picks. So listen, we're sitting here at 7-6 right now, riding on this Chargers Jets game. Quick little, we get an update on that game?
Little update, what's going on?
7-0 still Chargers. All right. So, I mean, I picked the Chargers, you picked the Jets, so that decides this week's picks. So, we'll get updates. But we're going to get right into these picks this week. Starting off with the Thursday night game, Carolina at Chicago. Who are you going with?
You know what? Listen, I'm going to go with the Bears on this one.
Okay.
Right? I think the Bears want it a little bit more. I think the Bears are hungry. I think that offensive
Do we know
line,
Fields is back?
He's practicing.
Okay.
He's practicing. But they just brought in Sweat on the defensive line. They play solid defense. I think it's going to be a close game, but I'm going to go with the home team on this one. I'm going to go with the Bears.
All right. I tend to agree with you. And the only reason I really agree with you is I think Carolina really was just that one-hit wonder that week against Texans. Watching them against Indianapolis, they really came back down to earth this week. The offense is really just devoid of playmakers right now outside of an older Thielen. Chuba Hubbard is... He's like an okay back, but I don't know if he's a take the load, full time.
Listen, they need playmakers.
They need more playmakers. They need to.
That's a really good defense in Carolina.
It is, but when they're on the field all the time, the statistics aren't going to show.
They need some offensive
Brian Burns is a heck of a player too. But yeah, I've seen Chicago's offense at least put up points, even with Tyson Bagent at the helm. And them at home. Yeah, I like Chicago. So let's go to this next one. Interesting game here. Indianapolis at New England. I'll lead off on this one.
And now remember, that's an international game.
It is an international. Yep. Oh, you're right. It's in
Frankfurt.
Oh, interesting. It's really tough, because New England just can't find ways to win games. I thought they were going to go and win that. They just couldn't even win that game the other day. The travel, Indy, this really is a toss-up game. I'm going to go with, I guess I'm going to go with New England. All right. As much as I don't love them, okay, and I picked them against Commanders, they played a competitive game against Commanders. Indy, it just seems very high and low right now. I'll take Bill Belichick's experience, at least, in just these types of moments. I'm sure he'll have New England do whatever's necessary in terms of getting ready to play the international game. I'll take New England.
Okay. Listen, I'm going to go with the Colts, right? I think, obviously, my worry here is coming off of a nice win. Now, remember, they went up against their former coach in Frank Wright and beat him. The one kid had 2 interceptions, run back for touchdowns. But I don't know if Mac Jones can score enough points against this defense. I think this defense is going to be able to shut down their offensive weapons because they don't have any offensive weapons.
Okay.
So I am going with the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, sorry, guys. He had that little pause because you got the scoreboard held up. It's now 14-0 Chargers. Shawnee in production was probably not happy to hold that up either. He's a big Jets fan. But someone here smiling.
What's the next game?
Houston at Cincinnati. Now, I would have looked at this game earlier in the season and been...
Your stud versus your roaring Lions?
Or
Tigers?
Roaring Tigers, yes. And listen, the Texans obviously are really good. And I expect this to actually be a competitive game. I think the Texans will score. But I'm taking the Bengals, man. They're roaring right now. They're too dangerous. And I think the difference between the two teams is Cincinnati will be able to get a couple of stops with their playmakers on defense, and I don't think the Texans will be able to stop the Bengals. So I'm going Bengals.
If you won't do it, I will do it. I'm going to go bold. I'm going to pick the Cincinnati Bengals. Come on.
He didn't even try.
Listen. Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, listen, hopefully Chase is healthy. But, listen, they're rolling right now. Listen, this would be a shock.
Most dangerous team in the league right now.
Most dangerous
I'm
team.
with you.
It's on the road, right? Big spot. I think it's going to be a great learning experience.
Texans are still young, yeah.
It's going to be a great learning experience for CJ, so let's see what happens. But the Bengals are winning this game.
All right. This is a good game right here. New Orleans at Minnesota.
So, listen, I just shouted out Dobbs.
Okay.
Right? Listen, I think the key is whether Jefferson is going to come back or not. I don't think he's going to be playing.
I don't think he plays in this game.
I don't. Now, do I love Derek Carr on the road? I don't think so.
Minnesota's defense has played not bad, too.
But listen, the Saints' defense is number 1 against the pass.
No, they're good. They're
right?
Good. But they seem to have somewhat found their identity a little bit on offense, too. Two pretty good weeks in a row.
Listen, I don't think the Saints are going to play well on the road. I'm going to ride with the hot team, and I'm going to go with the Vikings.
Listen, I think the Saints are coming off of 2 wins in a row. I think the Vikings have 1 now. So we're going to actually ride on this one together. I like the Vikings at home to protect and serve. The Saints have struggled on the road, too, this year. They lost to the Texans on the road, and they got beat up, too. So, I mean... yeah, I still like the Saints. And again, they won yesterday, but it's not like they dominated Chicago. So Minnesota is playing well right now. Give them the utmost props. Next, we got Green Bay at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Ooh.
Man, I'll tell you right now, I'm going Pittsburgh. They're at home. Green Bay, listen, you had a nice win against the Rams without Matt Stafford. You could see that team's clearly not the same with Rip being at the quarterback. Neither Kupp or Puka really produced at all in that game. I don't think it's going to be the same way when you go up into Pittsburgh. I think TJ Watt's going to be all over the field in that game. Pittsburgh's starting to figure out their offense a little bit. Jalen Warren, man, the kid can play. I think he's good enough to be a starting running back in this league. I like Pittsburgh.
Listen, I got no love for Jordan Love in this game. The Pittsburgh Steelers will beat them down.
That hurt my soul a little bit.
This will be an ugly game. I'm thinking this is like a get-right game for Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So I'm thinking 24-6.
24-6. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Pittsburgh controls this game.
Yeah.
All right. What are you on this one? This is an interesting game now. Tennessee Titans at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Ooh. So listen, Will Levis has looked good.
I like Levis.
Right?
I like Levis.
He's going on the road, but...
Even in a loss to Pittsburgh, right?
A loss to Pittsburgh. They're going up against the Bucs, right?
His defense is starting to slowly erode as well.
So, but I'm going to go with the rookie quarterback to make enough plays, and I'm going with the Tennessee Titans.
I like it. Yeah, I just really, that's the last time I'm going to, I just haven't liked what I've seen out of the Bucs the last couple of weeks. It just seems like after a really nice start, they're really coming down to earth hard. Their offensive line play is not very good. Mm-hmm. Baker is what Baker is. He cannot overcome, even in Cleveland, he had a tremendous amount of talent around him and couldn't quite get out of that team what you felt like the team should have been getting out of it. And I see the same thing with Tampa, so I'm going to ride with you, actually, here. I'm going to take Titans, and I'm going to make the young rook to have himself a heck of a game.
All right.
Okay, my lead on this. Wow, is this a tough game, man. This is a tough game. I wish I didn't have a lead on this one. San Francisco at 49ers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know what? I hate to say it, though. Jacksonville, I think, is having an incredible season. But San Fran, if you want to be like that team and that dog, you need to come out this bye week. You need to come guns blazing. You need to go and win a tough road game. And I'm going to take you to win a tough road game. So I'm taking San Francisco 49ers.
You're a smart man. I think they're going to be pissed off. Chase Young is back. I think it's going to be a serious defensive battle. But Debo is back.
Yes,
right?
Yes. Yep.
So that's one extra weapon.
Off the bye, too.
Off the bye.
Trent Williams, I think, might be at least practicing again. I don't know if he's back.
Listen, I'm going with the 49ers on this one.
Okay. All right. You take the lead on this one. Whoo! Talk about a black and blue game. Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. Holy defense. That's a tough game.
Do you need to wonder where I'm going to go?
I mean, I know where you're going.
You really need to wonder where I'm going to go?
All I need to know is...
Hey, Baltimore.
Both of these teams are going to be in the ice.
Listen, my MVP will show up and win this game because it's ultimately Lamar versus Deshaun, and Deshaun looks like trash right now.
Yeah.
Okay? So, Baltimore, listen, tough, physical game, 24-18, field goal type of a game, but Baltimore sticks it out.
I don't love this game for fantasy-wise, too, people. I think this is one of those games kind of low-scoring and ugly, but I'm with you. I like Baltimore to just be able to make a couple more plays. I haven't been singing their praises all this time. Cleveland's got a great defense. Offense, not so much. So I'm going Baltimore.
All right.
Atlanta, Arizona. I'm taking Atlanta.
Agreed.
All righty.
Now, Kyler Murray is coming back, but I'm also going to go with Atlanta.
I'm going with Atlanta. Detroit at the Chargers. Ooh, what do you got?
I'm going with the Lions.
Going with the Lions?
I'm going with the Lions. I trust them more.
Yeah, I'll go with the Lions as well.
Okay.
They're just a better team. New York at Dallas. Dallas.
Coming off a loss is going to be brutal.
Yeah. Commanders at Seattle. I'm going to go Seattle. Commanders I just never know what I'm going to get game to game with them. They're coming off a win, so I think Seattle, after taking a drubbing in Baltimore, needs to get back in the win column. I'll take Seattle.
I agree.
All right. Jets at Raiders. I mean, before this weekend, I would have said the Jets all the way. I'm not so sure right now, especially with the drubbing they just gave to the drubbing they just put on the Giants. Mm-hmm. Hence my red Giant shirt, because it's been a slow bleed this season, people. It's not been fun.
So where you going?
Next week we'll go on that. They're at Vegas, Jets. You know what? I'm going to be a friend to Shawnee in production. I'm going to take the Jets because I think they're losing tonight.
Hey,
I'll take the Jets.
Listen, look,
even though Aiden O'Connell looked pretty good.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna ride with the Jets on this one. Ultimately, I think what's gonna happen is the Raiders coming off of a really good win. This is a letdown opportunity, and I think the Jets are gonna be hungry.
Yeah, they were so pumped up, like Antonio Pierce.
Right, and rookie quarterback going against.
Shout out to Antonio Pierce too, by the way, former New York Giant, won 2 Super Bowls with us. Happy as heck to go and see him get his first victory, even though it was against his old team and our Giants. But that was great. Final game. Denver at Buffalo. I'm going to take Buffalo.
I'm with Buffalo, too.
Yeah.
Get right game for Josh Allen.
I agree, and Denver is just, that's who Denver is. But listen, guys, that's all the time we have for this week. We will see you next week when we...
Run it back.
Run it back.